Hi, welcome back. This is Nick Graham. I'm going to do in this series of videos. I'm going to solve quadratic equations by completing the squares. Why completing the squares? Because factoring is difficult. It's not easy to see, especially when you have especially when a is greater than 1. If it's not greater than 1, then it's easier. There are quadratic equations that you cannot factor. That is also one reason. Then if you cannot do that, then you need to do other ways to solve. And one of the ways of solving quadratic equations is completing the squares. It is one of my favorite because I don't need to memorize a formula. I need to just to remember the process, and I am very good at remembering the process. That's the reason why. First step is that we're going to make that the x squared, the numerical coefficient of x squared is no longer a, it should be 1. That's the first. So I need to divide all of this by a. That's it. So I need to divide all the terms by 2. So in this example, x squared, sorry, I forgot to tell you, I'm going to show in general form and in example parallel to each other. Okay? So x squared plus 2x plus 1/2 is equal to 0. Okay? Then I have here x squared plus b divided by ax plus c divided by a is equal to 0. Okay? The next thing is that I don't need the constants c divided by a. So I need to transfer them to the right hand side of the equation. So I need subtract by c divided by a, so that this will be 0. Then I have x squared plus b divided by a x is equal to negative c divided by a. Okay? So subtracted by 1/2 to both sides of the equation, so that this will be 0. And I have x squared plus 2x is equal to negative 1/2. Okay? Then the last thing that you're going to do is that you take half. You take the half of the middle term. This one is our middle term. Take half of it and then squared. So I'm going to take half of 2 squared. So take the half of the middle term and square. What you get is a perfect square. Then you have x plus 1 squared. This is 1. In a parenthesis, squared. I meant this is 1. This one inside the parentheses. Try to do it. So it should be like this now. X plus b divided by 2a in parentheses square is equal to negative c divided by a. But everything that you do in the left hand side of the equation, you need to do also on the right hand side of the equation. So I'm going to do the same here. 2 divided by 2 squared. And I will get negative 1/2 plus 1. So I have x plus 1 squared is equal to 1/2. Negative 1/2 plus 1 is 1/2. Then you can see now, you can just take the square root of both sides. Then we have x plus 1 is equal to positive and negative 1/2. So my first one now, if I'm going to subtract both sides of the equation by 1, so I can say x is equal to, we usually write this way, negative 1 plus minus square root of 1/2. So we have, if I can write that in another color, x sub 1 will be negative 1 plus square root of 2, square root of 1/2, sorry, square root of 1/2, and then x sub 2 will be negative 1 minus square root of 1/2. Then that is my solution. Okay, I'm going to give more example. Here's another example. We have x squared plus 4x plus 1 is equal to 0. We need to transfer positive 1 to the right hand side of the equation. Then that is 0. Then we have x squared plus 4x is equal to negative 1. And then we need to take the half of the middle term. Half of that, we have 4 divided by 2. I forgot to tell you about that. It's only the constant coefficient that we need to take half. And then we have 4 divided by 2 squared. So if we did right, then we have x squared, x plus 2 squared. It's already square. Perfect square. Because 4 divided by 2 is 2. Square is, so if we take the square of that is 4 also. So it is x plus 2, parenthesis in square. And then we have negative 2 plus 4. So x plus 2 squared is equal to 2. And we take the square root of both sides of the equation. Then we have x plus 2 is equal to positive negative square root of 2. And if we subtract 2 to both sides of the equation, then we have x is equal to, I will rearrange it, negative 2 plus minus square root of 2. So my first solution is negative 2 plus square root of 2, and then x sub 2 is equal to negative 2 minus square root of 2. It doesn't matter if you begin with minus square root of 2. So if you wrote this way, x sub 1 is equal to negative 2 minus square root of 2, and x sub 2 is equal to negative 2 plus square root of 2. You can see that it is the same. No problem at all. It's just how we used to do it. I used to do it plus first, but if you used to do it with minus, then it's alright. No problem with that. Here's another example that I'm going to solve. The first thing that we're supposed to do is that we're going to divide all the terms with the coefficient of x squared. This should be x squared. So that means negative 3. So we have x squared minus, that will be 4x minus 5 thirds is equal to 0. And if we add both sides of the equation by 5 thirds, that's the second second part of the process. Then this is 0. Then we have x squared minus 4x is equal to 5 thirds. And then if we take the half of the coefficient of the second term, square, we take the square of that, and we do the same with the right hand side of the equation. And then we have x minus this time is a square with a minus in between. That is 2 squared is equal to 5/3 minus 4. If we multiply both numerator and denominator with 3, then we have x minus 2 squared is equal to 5 minus 12/3. If we take the square root of both sides of the equation, then we have x minus 2 is equal to positive negative square root of 7/3. There's something wrong. This is positive, so this should be positive, this should be positive. Then it is 17/3. If we add 2 to both sides of the equation, then we have x is equal to 2 plus minus the square root of 17/3. And then our x sub 1 is 2 plus the square root of 17 divided by 3. And x sub 2 will be 2 minus the square root of 17 divided by 3. I will end this video now, but on my next video I will be discussing more examples so that you can really follow along how to do it, how to do the completing the squares. See you there.